What's going on, guys? Welcome back. NFL commentary for you today. Do me a favor, take a moment, like button, subscribe button, criticism in the comment section, Twitter. Shutdown Safety is my username. I actually slept on this overnight. I didn't want to do a video hastily. I wanted to really refresh myself and lament on this and make sure it's really how I felt before I came out and said it, because I'm sure there's some of you that aren't going to like this. So, Calvin Johnson. All right, the report is he cleaned out his locker, which is apparently something veteran players don't do. I don't know how accurate that is. I know that I've got a friend in the Arizona Cardinals. Those players clean their locker out all the time. I know I saw Brandon Marshall on NFL Network last night cleaning out his locker. So I don't know where that verbatim gets led. And I don't know why that's being said anyway. If he wants to clean his locker, he's a grown-ass man. He can clean his locker. Apparently also he went and spoke to his mother and expressed a concern that he did not want to play football. Well, who initiated that report? Because unless you're citing his mother, how do you know what he said? You know, this would all just become a giant, he said, she said. And to be honest with you, I don't know what any type of credence I can put into either one of those ideologies of him wanting to leave the Lions. I guess we could look at it this way. Don't the Lions usually clean out their locker in January? I mean, how many times has this team made it to the postseason? I don't know why this would shock anyone. To me, I think he's trying, maybe I hope more than anything else that he's trying to leverage the Lions. Maybe he's trying to give them a wake-up call to get serious in the offseason, make some right moves with personnel, with roster, with coaching, or he's going to walk out the door. And good for him to a degree. Now, I realize a lot of people are upset, and this is where maybe some people will disagree with me, because they're looking at Calvin Johnson as the best receiver in the NFL. And I just don't think that's the case. If you think Calvin Johnson's the best receiver ever, then you never watched Jerry Rice. Maybe it's an age thing. If you're 15 or 16 years old, yeah, maybe Calvin Johnson is the best receiver you ever saw. Maybe you are emotionally invested to him the same way. But then how are you going back and comparing this to Barry Sanders, who I saw retire as the greatest halfback I ever really did see? So I understand they're both Lions. I understand that they're both, high-level elite players. But to me, to sit there and say, oh, Calvin Johnson, just like Barry Sanders, it's just not accurate to me. It's just not the way it is. Now, the other thing here is the NFL contracts. Now, if Johnson retires, he owes the Lions $3.2 million in previously paid signing bonuses, which is kind of the benefit of them loading contracts to the point where if the player wants to walk away, they have to pay back a percentage of their unused contract years. Now, to me, a team should be able to cut a player at any point, and generally they do, and not have to pay him future money other than what they've guaranteed. That doesn't happen right now. If a player wants to retire before the end of the deal, they have to give this prorated amount back of their signing bonus, or if the player gets hurt, the team reaches like an injury settlement with them. It's just a giant horse and pony show. Because, to be honest with you, it creates such a bad environment. So if Calvin Johnson wants to keep his money and wants to retire, all he has to do is show up and either get cut by his actions or performance. He gets to keep the signing bonus. And generally, we see this happen a lot when players are like a healthy scratch or they're banned from a practice facility. It just does nothing to benefit the team. So to sit here and get emotional over this because you think Calvin Johnson is the best player you've ever seen, I can't relate to that. To me, like I said, he's just not. It would be difficult for me not to see Calvin Johnson, who I think really was a very good player, absolutely a Hall of Famer, not have an opportunity to go to the playoffs, not have an opportunity to win a Super Bowl. But, there's a lot of players, whether they're the best at their position or not, that fall in that same boat. And we can't sit here and continually feel sorry for players that don't actually get to make it to these big games. To me, when I watched Calvin Johnson this year, I didn't see the same Calvin Johnson I saw the last 8 or 9 years. I saw a player that was significantly slower. I saw a player that didn't show up in big games a lot. And maybe that's a culmination of what we're seeing now, but that's just what I perceived on the field as a fan. So I'd love to know your guys' opinions on this. I appreciate you checking it out. I'll be back in the week with more content.